known as Albany, New York, there lived a baker, Van Amsterdam, who was as honest as he could be. Each morning he checked and balanced his scales, and he took great care to give his customers exactly what they paid for, not more and not less.
Van Amsterdam's shop was always busy because people trusted him, and because he was a good baker as well. And never was the shop busier than in the days before December 6th, which is when the Dutch celebrate St. Nicholas Day.
At that time of year, people flocked to the baker's shop to buy his fine St. Nicholas cookies.
Made of gingerbread, iced in red and white, they looked just like St. Nicholas, as the Dutch know him, tall and thin, with a red bishop's cap and a long red bishop's cloak.
One St. Nicholas morning, the baker was just ready for business when the door of his shop flew open. In walked an old woman wrapped in a long black shawl.
Oh, I would come for a dozen of your St. Nicholas cookies.
Taking a tray, Van Amsterdam counted out 12 cookies. He started to wrap them, but the woman reached out and stopped him.
Oh, I asked for a dozen and you've only given me 12.
Madam, everyone knows that a dozen is 12.
But I say a dozen is 13. Give me one more.
Van Amsterdam was not a man to bear foolishness.
Madam, my customers get exactly what they pay for, not more and not less.
Well, then, you may keep your cookies.
She turned to go, but stopped at the door.
Van Amsterdam, however honest you may be, your heart is small and your fist is tight. Fall again, mount again, learn how to count again.
And then she was gone.
From that day, everything went wrong in Van Amsterdam's bakery.
His bread rose too high or not at all.
His pies were too sour or too sweet.
His cakes were crumbled or chewy.
His cookies were burnt or doughy.
His customers soon noticed the difference. Before long, most of them were going to other bakers.
That old woman has bewitched me. Is this how my honesty has been rewarded?
A whole year passed. The baker grew poorer and poorer. Since he sold little, he baked little, and his shelves were nearly bare. His last few customers slipped away.
Finally, on the day before St. Nicholas Day, not one customer came to Van Amsterdam's shop. At day's end, the baker sat alone, staring at his unsold St. Nicholas cookies.
I wish St. Nicholas could help me now.
Then he closed his shop and went sadly to bed.
That night, the baker had a dream. He was a boy again, one in a crowd of happy children, and there in the midst of them was St. Nicholas himself.
The bishop's white horse stood beside him, its baskets filled with gifts. Nicholas pulled out one gift after another, handed them to the children.
But Van Amsterdam noticed something strange. No matter how many presents Nicholas passed out, there were always more to give.
In fact, the more he took from the baskets, the more they seemed to hold.
Then Nicholas handed a gift to Van Amsterdam. It was one of the baker's own St. Nicholas cookies.
Van Amsterdam looked up to thank him, but it was no longer St. Nicholas standing there.
Smiling down at him was the old woman with the long black shawl.
Van Amsterdam awoke with a start. Moonlight shone through the half-closed shutters as he lay there thinking.
I always give my customers exactly what they pay for, not more and not less. But why not give more?
The next morning, St. Nicholas Day, the baker rose early.
He mixed his gingerbread dough and rolled it out.
He molded the shapes and he baked them.
He iced them in red and white to look just like St. Nicholas.
And the cookies were as fine as any he had made.
Van Amsterdam had just finished when the door flew open. In walked the old woman with the long black shawl.
I have come for a dozen of your St. Nicholas cookies.
In great excitement, Van Amsterdam counted out 12 cookies.
And one more.
In this shop, from now on, a dozen is 13.
You have learned to count well. You will surely be rewarded.
She paid for the cookies, and started out. But as the door swung shut, the baker's eyes seemed to play a trick on him.
He thought he glimpsed the tail end of a long red cloak.
As the old woman foretold, Van Amsterdam was rewarded. When people heard he counted 13 as a dozen, he had more customers than ever.
In fact, Van Amsterdam grew so wealthy that the other bakers in town began doing the same. From there, the practice spread to other towns and, at last, through all the American colonies.
And this, they say, is how 13 became the baker's dozen, a custom common for over a century.
And alive in some places to this very day.